Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. Severe weather targets the Northeast as more rain slams South Florida. The close call and dangerous plunge for a Southwest plane trying to land in Hawaii. And the new message and photo from Britain's Princess Kate. First, more than 50 million people on alert here in the Northeast. A severe thunderstorm watch for New York and New Jersey. The same system that spawned 7 tornadoes in the heartland, now taking aim at the I-95 corridor. Powerful winds, heavy rain, and the potential for tornadoes. In Florida, the flooding emergency intensifies. Entire neighborhoods overwhelmed, cars and homes inundated. First responders bringing families to higher ground. Victor Oquendo from the flood zone, our weather team tracking it all. New details just coming in about a terrifying midair incident over Hawaii. A Southwest jet plunging, coming within 400 feet of the ocean. And the new allegations that counterfeit titanium may have been used in some commercial planes. The FAA investigating. The Supreme Court strikes down a Trump-era ban on bump stocks, attachments that enable a semi-automatic weapon to fire at speeds closer to a machine gun. Bump stocks used in the worst mass shooting in modern American history in Las Vegas in 2017. The conservative majority on the high court ruling the federal government exceeded its authority. Terry Moran from the Supreme Court. The new announcement and emotional message from Princess Catherine saying she will attend a major royal event this weekend, opening up about her health, the good days and the bad. The Pope's historic meeting with world leaders at the G7 summit, his one-on-one with President Biden, and the pontiff's message about the threat of AI. Demolition begins on the site of one of the worst high school shootings in American history. The urgent manhunt here in New York for a suspect who assaulted a 13-year-old girl in a Queens park. And America strong tonight, just ahead of Father's Day, the Navy dad who flew halfway around the world to surprise his son.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Friday night. I'm Whit Johnson in for David. Several developing headlines as we come on the air. Reaction after the Supreme Court overturned a ban on gun bump stocks, and word of a terrifying plunge on a Southwest flight over the ocean off Hawaii. But we begin tonight with dangerous storms striking New York and New Jersey at this hour. More than 50 million people on alert along the I-95 corridor. Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York up to New England, all in the path. Treacherous driving on Route 128 in Weston, Massachusetts. And in South Florida, after days of torrential rain, millions are bracing for another hit. This family in Miami-Dade County, one of many rescued from flooded homes. In North Miami, the water is still knee-high, the streets full of cars abandoned where they stalled. We'll time this all out with the forecast in just a moment. But first, ABC's Victor Oquendo leads us off in Florida again tonight.
Tonight, powerful thunderstorms and high winds targeting millions from D.C. to New York to Boston. Dangerous driving conditions right in the middle of the evening commute.
But what we're concerned about, of course, damaging wind gusts, localized flooding, downpours, you name it.
It's the same system that spawned 7 tornadoes in the Midwest overnight. These buildings in the tiny northeast Missouri town of Ewing ripped to shreds. Meanwhile, waterlogged South Florida bracing for up to 5 more inches of rain after more than 2 feet already. Dead cars everywhere.
Tow trucks have been working around the clock. This one picking up this car in North Miami. But down the block, there are at least another dozen stalled out cars, and that's just on one street.
Families still trapped in neighborhoods that look like lakes. First responders in high water vehicles seen leading families from these flooded homes this morning.
Oh, wow. Look how much water is still inside his house.
So a lot of things got damaged. This is me trying to save what I can.
I mean, we're still talking about...
That's a good, what,
That's like 3 inches right here.
Yeah.
Jamin Reyes has lived in this North Miami neighborhood for 11 years.
You're frustrated.
Yeah. You know, I keep my cool, but this is every year, man. Every year is the same thing. I've damaged so many things, and I had to throw a lot of things away. And then when I replace them, they get damaged again.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, no, it's bad. It's bad.
3 days later, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue is still pulling people from their homes. There's actually a high water vehicle making its way down the block behind me. Much of South Florida is still under a flood watch through tonight. The good news, we finally start to dry out tomorrow. Whit.
And we've been seeing you in those floodwaters for days now. Victor, thank you. Meteorologist Lee Goldberg from our New York station WABC joins us now. And Lee, this dangerous storm moving right in as we speak.
Whit, skies about to open up here in New York City. Events already being canceled around the 5 boroughs. You know, the Northeast has been a stranger to the heat and severe weather. That's starting to change. Boston had damaging storms tonight. They got storms moving through the South Shore. Severe thunderstorm watches out southeastern New York and into New Jersey, also across southwestern Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. And then it's about this heat. So we're getting a taste of it now. We've been just sweltering in the Southwest. Phoenix hasn't had a high below 100 since late May. Well, now that heat zone is expanding eastward. We've seen it in the southeast, but now it's blazing right off the bat next week in the Midwest and Ohio Valley. And then by midweek, it's right along the I-95 corridor. We could actually have an official heat wave to start summer. And then we have to watch the tropics. We're in a hurricane season, and there's a decent chance of tropical depression development in the southwestern Gulf. If it's named, it would be Alberto. Whit?
It's that time of year. We'll be tracking it. Lee Goldberg, thank you. Next tonight, the FAA investigating 2 midair incidents on Southwest Airlines flights. One jet's sudden plunge coming within 400 feet of the ocean, and a rare rolling incident at 34,000 feet. ABC's Trevor Ault explains.
Tonight, the FAA investigating 2 concerning incidents on Southwest airline flights. In April, a Southwest Boeing 737 MAX 8 off the coast of Hawaii came within just 400 feet of slamming into the ocean. Bloomberg reporting inclement weather caused an aborted landing attempt on Kauai. The report citing a Southwest memo stating the less experienced first officer inadvertently pushed forward on the control column, then cut the speed, causing the airplane downward. Soon after, a warning system sounded alarms the jet was getting too close to the surface, and the captain ordered the first officer to increase thrust. The plane then climbed aggressively at 8,500 feet per minute. No one was injured, but the flight was diverted back to Honolulu. Southwest now saying the event was addressed appropriately, as we always strive for continuous improvement. Then last month, another Southwest Boeing 737 MAX 8, this time en route from Phoenix to Oakland, experiencing a rare event at 34,000 feet, what's known as a Dutch roll, when an aircraft simultaneously slides from side to side and rocks wingtip to wingtip. The FAA incident report says the flight regained control, and the post-flight inspection revealed damage to the standby power control unit. No one was injured.
As of now, this is not something for passengers to be concerned about. The NTSB would have grounded the fleet if they saw something that they were really concerned about.
Trevor Ault joins us now. And Trevor, these incidents are coming to light amid new safety concerns. The FAA now investigating how counterfeit titanium ended up in passenger jets.
That's right, Whit, and it's jets from both Boeing and Airbus, and the common link between them is a company called Spirit Aerosystems, which does manufacturing for both. And they say that counterfeit titanium made its way into the supply system through falsified documents. Now, Spirit Aerosystems says all those parts have since been removed from production, and they, along with Airbus and Boeing, insist all planes in the air are still safe to fly. Whit.
Important information there. Trevor, thank you. Now to that major Supreme Court ruling overturning a Trump-era ban on bump stocks, those attachments that dramatically ramp up the speed of how rifles can fire bullets. The ban had bipartisan support, imposed after the horrific Las Vegas Music Festival attack in which 58 people were killed. But the court's conservative majority ruled the government's ban was unlawful. ABC's Terry Moran is at the Supreme Court.
It was the deadliest mass shooting in modern American history. A gunman firing more than 1,000 rounds in 10 minutes killed 58 people at a Las Vegas concert. And now the attachment that gunman used to transform several of his weapons so they could fire at that lethally high rate of speed is legal once again in the U.S., more than 5 years after the ATF banned so-called bump stocks following that rampage in Vegas. In a 6-3 ruling, the Supreme Court today said bump stocks, which can enable semi-automatic rifles to fire up to 800 rounds per minute, don't convert those weapons into machine guns, which can fire up to 950 rounds per minute and are prohibited in the U.S. Writing for the conservative majority, Justice Clarence Thomas said even with a bump stock, a semi-automatic rifle will fire only one shot every time the trigger is pulled. Thomas writing, a bump stock does not convert a semi-automatic rifle into a machine gun any more than a shooter with a lightning-fast trigger finger does. Michael Cargill, the gun store owner who sued the government to reinstate bump stocks, was elated by the ruling.
They cannot walk into my house and tell me something that I owned, that I purchased, all of a sudden years later it's illegal and they decide to ban it.
This year we met the man who invented those bump stocks, Jeremiah Cottle, and he showed us how they work.
And it's as simple as lining the bump fire stock up with the buffer tube and then sliding it on the gun. You pull the trigger, it fires one time, it recoils, and you pull the trigger again to fire the next one. Range is hot. What my product does is just allows you to do that very quickly.
The invention made him a millionaire overnight. More than 700,000 bump stocks were sold in the decade before the ban took effect in 2019. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, dissenting, scorned the majority's logic. When I see a bird that walks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, I call that bird a duck. A bump stock-equipped semi-automatic rifle, I call that a machine gun. Today's decision to reject that ordinary understanding will have deadly consequences. Marissa Morano, who survived the Las Vegas shooting, says she's appalled by today's Supreme Court ruling.
I'm sad. I'm sad that our Supreme Court can't protect us. I'm sad that our children and our communities are not safe. It's sickening, to be honest.
Terry Moran joining us now. So, Terry, as you noted, people can buy bump stocks now, but the High Court left the door open for a ban to be reinstated in the future.
That's right, Whit. Some people can buy bump stocks. The federal ban is gone, but several states have their own bans. Those are likely to be challenged under the Second Amendment. And the only way a national ban could be reinstated is if Congress passed a law to do it. And given the track record there on this issue in recent years, the only thing that could get Congress to do something like that is another massacre. Whit?
Another major ruling by the Supreme Court today. Terry, thank you. To England now, and Princess Kate's personal message saying she will join her family for the King's birthday parade tomorrow, her first public appearance since her cancer diagnosis, but adding she has good days and bad, and she is not out of the woods yet. ABC's Lama Hassan is at Buckingham Palace tonight.
Tonight, a personal and emotional message from the Princess of Wales, opening up about her health and the news she will attend a major royal event this weekend in her first official appearance since her cancer diagnosis. I am making good progress, Catherine writes, but as anyone going through chemotherapy will know, there are good days and bad days. On those bad days, you feel weak, tired, and you have to give in to your body resting. But on the good days, when you feel stronger, you want to make the most of feeling well. Along with the message, Kensington Palace releasing this new photo of the princess taken earlier this week in Windsor. The princess writing, "On the days I feel well enough, it is a joy to engage with school life, spend personal time on the things that give me energy and positivity, as well as starting to do a little work from home." Catherine, the mother of 3 young children, making that shocking announcement in March.
As I've said to them, I am well. And getting stronger every day.
Revealing to the world she was undergoing preventative chemo for an unspecified cancer. Treatment, she says, is still ongoing and will be for months. She's expected to ride in a horse-drawn carriage at Saturday's Trooping the Colour Parade, marking the King's official birthday, and watch the iconic flypast from the Buckingham Palace balcony. Today, Catherine grateful for love and support, sharing she is not out of the woods yet. "I'm learning how to be patient, especially with uncertainty, taking each day as it comes, listening to my body and allowing myself to take this much-needed time to heal." With the princess is expected to be on that famous balcony behind me with her father-in-law, King Charles, who is also undergoing cancer treatment. Whit?
Certainly encouraging to see her back out in public. Lama, thank you. Now to Italy and the G7 summit welcoming a special guest, Pope Francis, the first pontiff ever to address the world leaders group, and his warning about artificial intelligence. ABC's Selena Wang in Italy tonight.
Tonight, President Biden wrapping up the G7 summit with world leaders, sharing a tender moment with Pope Francis in Italy. Later meeting one-on-one with the pontiff, gifting him a decorative tray with an image of the Capitol Rotunda.
It's not the Vatican, but...
The two leaders discussing the urgent need for a ceasefire in Gaza and the war in Ukraine. Parting with a handshake, Pope Francis telling the president,
Pray for me, I pray for you. I promise I do.
Francis, the first pontiff ever to address the G7, delivering a warning about artificial intelligence, urging the leaders to put more guardrails in place. Saying, quote, "We would condemn humanity to a future without hope by dooming them to depend on the choices of machines." And earlier, a lighter moment at the Vatican. Pope Francis meeting with comedians like Chris Rock, Stephen Colbert, and Whoopi Goldberg, saying, in the midst of so much gloomy news, you have the power to spread serenity and smiles.
And Whit, the G7 leaders here are backing the ceasefire deal that President Biden had laid out. They say that the number of civilian casualties in Gaza is unacceptable, and they're urging Israel not to launch a full-scale invasion into Rafah. Whit.
Selena Wang for us tonight. Thank you. Back here at home now in Parkland, Florida, demolition is underway at the site of one of the worst school shootings in U.S. history. Family members of the victims were invited to watch as crews began dismantling Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. The process is expected to last about a week. 17 students and teachers were killed by a gunman there back in 2018. When we come back, the urgent manhunt here in New York for the suspect who sexually assaulted a 13-year-old girl in a public park. The dramatic rescue of 2 hikers in California. And just ahead of Father's Day, the Navy dad in his incredible journey to surprise his son. Next tonight, an urgent manhunt is underway here in New York City for a suspect police say sexually assaulted a 13-year-old girl in a secluded area of a park in Queens. Officers combing the area. She and her friend said the suspect threatened them with a machete. Both taken to the hospital in stable condition. The NYPD offering a $10,000 reward and asking for the public's help. When we come back, the incredible and daring rescue near Joshua Tree, California. To the index now, the LAPD is searching for one of the 2 men who they say knocked over an elderly woman during a violent road rage incident at LAX. One man chasing another. Surveillance video shows both slamming into the woman, checking her luggage at the curb. She was knocked unconscious and rushed to a hospital in critical condition. One of the men has turned himself in. 2 hikers pulled to safety in a dramatic rescue near Joshua Tree, California. Authorities using a helicopter to locate the pair. A deputy lowered to help them. Both hikers were hoisted onto the chopper and taken to a hospital. Temperatures in the area were in the triple digits. When we come back, America Strong, the proud dad, and what he did to surprise his son. Finally tonight, America Strong, the Navy dad, and what he did to see his son graduate just in time for Father's Day.
Tonight in San Antonio, Texas, Navy Petty Officer First Class David Castillo is at Breckenridge High School graduation. His son Randy ready to accept his diploma. His father has been away on 4 separate deployments, most recently stationed on the USS Theodore Roosevelt in the South China Sea for the last 4.5 months. So when Petty Officer First Class Castillo got word he may be able to make it home in time for his son's graduation, he kept it a secret from his sons. And as soon as he could, he raced home from across the world, traveling 17 hours to Texas, making it just in time. First, surprising their younger son, Joshua.
It's time to go see your brother graduate.
Dad! Oh my God, Dad!
What's going on?
And then graduation.
I'm here to surprise my son. I'm just glad to be here and be a part of something, his first steps in life. So just wanted to be here and support my son.
The school in on it, documenting the surprise, asking Randy if his dad would be there. And just look at who is right behind him.
How about your dad?
Sadly, he's not here. Sadly, he's at the Navy. Yeah, in overseas right now.
Look behind you.
Welcome home. We have coming back to San Antonio, Texas.
Father and son hugging, the crowd cheering. Tonight, the Castillo family with a message for everyone on this Father's Day.
We want to thank everybody for their support, and from our family to yours, we want to wish you Happy Father's Day.
Same to you, and congratulations on that special moment. Thanks so much for watching tonight. I'm Wade Johnson in New York. For David and all of us here, have a great night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.